Hello, fellow clear-mind enjoyers. Today, I'm showing you the pinnacle of Stardust. But first, I want to apologize for not releasing the video on Allure Synchrons. Once Primus was announced, I had to delay my climb because I want to make 2 Stardust videos, one for this version of Stardust, and one for the improved Azamina White Forest Stardust. I want to climb with both through decent ranks to get solid replay footage, so I just had to delay it. I know a lot of you are waiting for Stardust content, since anything Stardust related is the most clicked content on my channel. Nevertheless, I promise I'll show you a new Synchron build in the near future. But for now, let's get back to this deck guide. Since my last deck guide for Stardust Centurion half a year ago, a lot has changed. But the changes it received drastically boosted the deck. We got Saronir back to 3, which is a nice unhit for us, since it allows us to reduce the number of Lubellions. You might ask why we'd want to do that. That's because Lubellion is terrible going second, and I'd rather have one more Saronir that's actually a disruption piece and can bridge into Lubellion fairly easily. Another extremely cool unlimit is Chaos Space to 3, giving us more access to Lubellion and the Chaos Baby Dragons, which is extremely valuable going both second and first. But the biggest change was the release of Primera Primus and Atrii. It's quite interesting how Primus overperformed and completely exceeded my expectations, while Atrii was just meh. It's not particularly bad, but it bricked me too often while not providing as much value as I expected, so it didn't make the cut. Still, I'll show you a basic combo where Atrii comes up. Another downside with Atrii is that while it sounds nice to set up a double blazer line, it requires wake up to make it consistent, which is an additional brick. So sadly, Atrii had to be cut. But feel free to try it out for yourself. Now with the general stuff out of the way, let's get into the deck profile. Let's talk about the Stardust part first. We're running 2 Stardust Synchron, 3 tunings, 1 Assault Synchron, 1 Arrive in Light, 1 Converging Will's Dragon, and 1 Brotor. You might ask, why only 2 Stardust and not 3? It's actually quite simple. I want to keep the deck at 50 cards, not for calculations or ratios, but mostly because of my OCD. Sure, you could remove a hand trap to fit in a 3rd Stardust, but I really like the current ratios and how often I draw into my hand traps. Assault Synchron is a great extender that's searchable via our 3 tunings, and it provides an extra negate for our main boss monster, Shooting Majestic Star Dragon. Arrive in Light, Brotor, and Converging Will's Dragon are our main bricks, so of course we only run 1 of each. So how does the engine work? Stardust Synchron, when summoned, searches for Arrive in Light. Arrive in Light then places a level 1 dragon on top of the deck, in our case, that's Converging Will's Dragon. When a Synchro monster is summoned, Arrive in Light lets you draw a card, and Converging Will's Dragon triggers its effect. But be careful, it misses timing easily. If it resolves correctly and you control a level 8 or higher dragon Synchro, it special summons a level 1 dragon from the deck. In our build, that's Brotor. And this is where the real synergy kicks in. Brotor targets Converging Will's Dragon, and from there, we bridge straight into our next engine, the Bystials. Speaking of which, we're running 1 Magnamut, 2 Saronir, 2 Druisworm, 1 Baldrake, 2 Lubellion, and 1 Regain to pair with Lubellion. Depending on your preference, it's perfectly valid to run 3 Saronir and just 1 Lubellion or vice versa, especially if you're trying to save on gems and UR dust. Bystials open the level 10 Synchro pool and establish an insane grind game if needed. The core of the deck is definitely the Centurion engine. We run our 12 main starters, 3 Primera, 3 Trudia, 3 Oath, and 3 Stand Up. Naturally, this engine has an engine requirement that also counts as a brick, and that's Gargoyle. The last Centurion card is Phalanx, a solid standalone trap. All 12 starter are basically all equivalent in value and give us basically the same combo. Only Oath can combo differently with Stardust Synchron. Honestly, I can see a future version of this list where we cut down Trudia and Primera to 2 each to fit in a 3rd Stardust Synchron or maybe a 3rd Saronir or Lubellion, just to pivot more often into the Stardust route rather than relying solely on Centurion. Now, how do all these engines work together? Centurion is essentially the mid-range core, and it gives you stability, playability, and resilience against hand traps. The Stardust engine acts like the sword for that core. It gives you an explosive and almost unstoppable weapon once your plays get rolling. What makes this even better is how well Stardust bridges into the Bystial engine through Lubellion, offering insane grind potential. Together, the deck has multiple platforms to operate from depending on your opening hand and available resources. It's extremely explosive and, at the same time, has the potential to outgrind most decks, even when you miss your Stardust Synchron line. On top of that, the Bystials double as hand traps, which gives this deck a stronger going second plan than a lot of others. That said, despite how powerful it is, the deck isn't tier 0. It has a decent amount of weaknesses, like for example a fair number of bricks. The Stardust engine specifically, Arrive in Light, Converging Will's Dragon, and Brotor, are all awful to open, even though Arrive in Light is somewhat acceptable. Stardust Synchron on its own does nothing. Neither does Assault Synchron. So if your hand is all non-engine with just a single Stardust Synchron, you're kind of screwed. A major downside even in decent hands is that sometimes you open both Bystials and Stardust Synchron, but you can't combo because there's no grave setup to summon the Bystials. To help mitigate that, I want to highlight an optional engine I personally love and highly recommend trying, the Chaos Space engine with the baby Chaos Dragons. The ratios are simple, 3 Chaos Space, and 1 of each baby Chaos Dragon, White Dragon Wyverburster and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. Chaos Space doesn't just search the dragons, it also gets you to Lubellion, which makes it incredibly versatile. Some people see the discard cost as a downside, and yeah, it can be, but it actually helps fix our awkward hands. It sets up the grave for Bystials and gets more value now thanks to Primus. For example, if we open Stand Up and discard a card to summon Primera, and she gets disrupted, the baby dragons can still extend. You can often go straight into Primus and then follow up with Auxilla, which is a massive swing. Now let's quickly go over the non-engine cards. First, we have 2 Max C, because Konami still refuses to ban it. Then 2 Ghost Ogres, which are great in this meta, especially against Blue Eyes and other Centurion matchups. Ash Blossom is mandatory as a Max C counter. Then there are 2 Fuelos, which I absolutely love. It encourages actual thinking about your plays, unlike Max C, and doesn't feel like a total punch in the face when you're going second. We've already covered the Bystials, which as I said, often double as hand traps in this format. There's also a 1 of Nibiru, that is decent at the moment but also is a decent discard when going first. The last non-engine cards are 2 called by the grave and 1 crossout designator, which are mainly here to deal with Max C and other hand trap threats. Other good hand traps to consider are Effect Veiler, though it's a bit weaker this meta, and Ghost Ogre, which tends to have more impact right now and also happens to be a lighter tribute. But of course, tweak your non-engine lineup based on what the meta demands and what you have access to. With the main deck covered, let's move on to the extra deck. First, we have Accel Synchron. He's mostly here to mill Assault Synchron when we're going for the full combo. It's usually pretty hard to access and ends up being more of a cherry on top than something you rely on. Next is Primera Primus. This card is insane, not because it has one huge effect, but because it offers a bunch of smaller, super useful ones that patch a lot of the deck's weaknesses. It's an extender that's easy to bring out thanks to being level 8, it's a going second tool with a pop and a search for another extender, and it's amazing in the grind game since it just keeps coming back from the grave. If you don't use it turn 1 and you need back row removal later, like for True Light in Blue Eyes matchups, it helps there, too. It's not mandatory for the combo, but when it comes up, it really delivers. Definitely a 10/10ths card that the deck needed. Up next is Shunshin, which is a flex spot. It's usually used with Accel Synchron to quick synchro into it during your opponent's turn. In my opinion, Shunshin is really solid in the current meta. But if you don't have it, you can sub in Crocadragon or Wolfrayet, your call. Then we've got Barone and Chaos Angel, basically the best generic level 10 synchros out there. Dissipator is next. He's not only a strong standalone synchro, but also a mandatory piece for Converging Will's Dragon's effect to summon Brotor from the deck. That then leads into one of our best plays, synchroing into shooting Majestic Star Dragon. This card is amazing, huge disruption potential, and it gets even better with the full setup. It triggers Assault Synchron in the grave with its banish effect, letting it revive itself for a second on the negate. That, in turn, triggers both Branded Regained and Arrive in Light, giving you 2 more draws. Super satisfying. Now, onto the Centurion Extra Deck Core. Legacia gives you a draw 1 and a non-targeting pop. Auxiliar is your main Centurion searcher. Both Legacia and Auxiliar can set Centurion monsters from different zones, Legacia from the hand, Auxiliar from the banished pile. They also share the effect to set one from the grave. Crimson Dragon is just there to bring out Cosmic Blazer Dragon, which is still the strongest standalone boss in the game. For the link pool, we're keeping it pretty tight and efficient. First up is Striker Dragon. He's mainly here to link off the baby Chaos Dragons. From there, you can transition into either Heavenly Spheres when going first or SP Little Knight when going second, depending on what you need. Heavenly Spheres is honestly an MVP in this deck. It's not just a good disruption tool, it's actually a combo piece that helps bridge your Centurion plays into the Stardust engine. You can use Auxiliar and Gargoyle to bring it out, then tribute it with Stardust Synchron to trigger its effect and extend your plays even further. The last link we run is IP Masquerena. There's not a huge reason behind it, she's just a solid, easy to make disruption option if you need something to sit on or link climb with. Before we jump into the combo section of the video, let me just share some thoughts on the deck overall. I really like it. It fits my playstyle super well, and I enjoyed climbing with it. I think it's a solid rogue pick. Is it better than pure Centurion with Bystials? I'd say no. But it's definitely more satisfying to pilot and way more fun to play. Also, if you don't have tuning, you can sub it out for on your mark, get set, duel. As for extra deck flex spots, there are a few decent additions you might want to consider depending on your playstyle or how often you run into disruptions. Cards like Almiraj, the Blue Eyes Linker 1, or even Artemis can come in clutch. They're super useful when your Centurion main deck monsters get disrupted. You can link them off to set up your graveyard instead of just passing. It's not always necessary, but having one of these as a tech option can definitely save some otherwise dead hands. So, without further ado, let's get into the combos. I'll stop yapping here and provide commentary through text. If something's unclear, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll break it down for you.